Apparently, if you like Mushoku Tensei, you're a terrible human being, and some would even go on record to say you are a, quote unquote, you can see here on the bottom, a neo-Nazi. And when I see posts like this, it just completely blows me away. The amount of buzzwords that people use all the time on social media to hope they stick to cause controversy is legitimately absolutely insane, unhinged behavior. Because at the end of the day, the story of Mushoku Tensei that causes so much drama is just literature. It is just a story. It is not real life. It's not reality. It's just a piece of fiction. And the amount of people that latch onto this and continuously use this, not just with, let's say, Mushoku Tensei, but also with other stories out there, is just complete insanity. It's crazy. It's legitimately crazy, the people that do this. But let's talk about this. I always see this topic always brought up every single season of Mushoku Tensei. Every time a new episode or a new season of Mushoku Tensei comes out, there is controversy like this. Controversy that basically throws so many buzzwords to label the entire community as gross, groomers, etc. And it's legitimately crazy. It's crazy freaking behavior. And so let's talk about that. So one of the big things that people always like to discuss when it comes to Mushoku Tensei is the divisive character of Rudy, or Rudis Greyrat. He is our main character of the story of Mushoku Tensei, and we gotta talk about why people call him a weirdo creep, and, they continuously latch on to stuff like this to constantly throw mud at, let's say the community, but also the series in general. And the reason for that is because Rudy, in his previous life, he was, a loser. He was a weirdo. He was someone that was a creep, just straight up. He was not a good person, he was a creep. And he died, and he had a second shot at life. And we get to see this in the first 2 to 3 episodes of Mushoku Tensei. We see his second shot at life. He has, some lingering trauma from his previous life to where, he doesn't want to go outside or leave the comforts of his yard and home. But thanks to Roxy's intervention and coming into his life, he was able to make those steps outside of the door and able to open up his entire worldview and start his journey as a better person. New decisions that he was never able to make in the previous life, he was finally growing as a person, and we need to talk about that. Rudy, as a character in his previous life, he was like a 30-something-year-old man, he was a loser, and his mental age was stunted. We could say his mental age was probably of a late teen to early 20-year-old person, because he was bullied out of school, someone that was traumatized so greatly that he just shut himself off in his four walls for decades, basically, and never left his room. He was someone that straight up just became a hikikomori and did not want to ever leave his comfort of his own room. So he was always traumatized. He was just mentally stunted. And thanks to Roxy's intervention, I don't know why I said Rocky, but Roxy's intervention, he was able to make those steps to begin his journey for a second chance at life. Now, we gotta look at other things that this story obviously does. And one of the big, most divisive moments of the story that you always see people use to throw shade at it is the Aris and Rudy scene at the end of Season 1. And I've talked about this in the past with my videos and stuff, but I've never made a straight-up dedicated video, from my understanding, talking about all this controversy and drama as, kind of thrown at Rudy and the community. What a lot of people I noticed that, constantly comment on this series and try to hate on it, they probably either A, they don't watch the series or read the series. They don't know anything about it. The only thing they know is through images or what they've been told from maybe TikTok videos or whatever, or they have watched it and they've hate-watched it, and they want to hate it, so their opinion's never going to change because they want to hate it. They want to have any reason. They want to throw ammo to clout chase or bait tweet people, and that's exactly what you see from stuff that does like this. It is clout chasing and bait tweeting. But let's debunk this. Let's talk about this Rudy scene. Did Rudy assault Aris? Did Rudy groom Aris? Because obviously the accusations you see in posts like this is pretty much saying that's what he's doing, and that the author is glorifying it. And that's automatically just crazy that someone say that. But This is not glorified by any means. In fact, thanks to the circumstances of this moment at the end of season 1, led Rudy to literally meeting someone else and then being kind of shunned once again and almost taking his life because he just felt like there was no hope for him in his world anymore. It was legitimately sad, a very sad moment, which also led to his whole problem with ED, and it's a serious problem. It is a very interesting topic that author decided to talk about within a story because you don't see stuff like that. A lot of times, people will skirt over that issue even though it's a very important issue within society. People don't talk about it because obviously it seems like a very taboo topic, so to speak. So it was very fascinating seeing Mushoku Tensei tackle topics that you just don't see often. But back into the main point. What happened in this scene? And I feel like anyone that has media literacy and is able to understand scenes that are kind of presented towards you will know what happened within this moment. Aris forced herself on Rudy. It doesn't matter about the previous life. The point of the matter is that Rudy was drinking wine. It literally had a scene prior to this where you see him, you can actually even see the cup in his hand right here. He is drinking wine. And he was probably deep into it, just thinking about everything that happened in the village that they lost. He was very depressed. Aris is depressed as well, and she wanted to just basically be with Rudy. She wanted to have an intimate moment, so she forced herself on top of him. He was kind of saying no, basically, to her, and so she seduced him by saying words to him to get him in the mood, so to speak, and then everything happened. When he finally woke up the next morning, she left him a note, she cut her hair, and he was abandoned, all by himself. And regardless of just the misunderstanding between the two characters, it doesn't change the point that Rudy was, in all cases and purposes, he was taken advantage of, and he was left high and dry in that moment alone, which led into how he was most likely almost back into his previous self from his previous life, and, he was about to be in a case before he met Roxy, but thanks to just, him already slightly changing since the beginning, he was not able to fall back into that same problem. But, it's crazy that people like to latch onto this and say it's all Rudy's fault or whatever, when in fact, Aris technically is to blame here. And there was nothing in the sort of, grooming or PDF and all that type of stuff. Just people like to throw that out there because it's just it's easy to throw buzzwords to hate on something. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the other accusation, which is this one. And I think this one is a very big one as well. Basically saying that Rudy, is conquering girls within the story, etc. And I'm just like, that's not the case whatsoever. In fact, when he tried to get with, her right here, Walmart Aris, she shunned him and she tried to force herself onto him once again, and pretty much, he lost her. And, it wasn't glorifying it. He wasn't conquering anyone. Once again, he was back into a spiral of depression. We fast forward a little bit to basically the scene with Sylphie and Rudy. Sylphie changed a lot as a person, was his childhood friend, and thanks to Rudy's interaction with her when they were both kids, she was able to learn magic and protect herself. She literally almost died at the beginning of season 2. We all saw the episode if you watched the series. She was falling from the sky and almost died, and thanks to magic, she was able to stop herself from falling to her death, and she survived. If it wasn't for Rudy helping her out, she would have died then and there. And so Rudy had an everlasting effect and change to her life to where she was able to actually have a life. And so she harbored a lot of emotion and just, and admiration for Rudy over the years. There was nothing else. And Rudy hasn't seen Sylphie at this point for 10 years. So there is no accusations you could say with grooming, etc. that could be placed in that. It was two childhood friends meeting up once again and sparking a relationship and finding love in each other once again. It's just honestly insane to me just seeing stuff like this constantly within the community, people throwing this out there. It is something I wanted to talk about. It's something that needed to be talked about because it's always happening, and I just can't believe these people try to do that. And the story of Mushoku Tensei is very deep. It is something that has a very intricate world. It's constantly showcasing that Rudy was a bad person. I mean, the whole scene with Paul and Rudy and their argument is also very iconic for that. They were both in the wrong, they both misunderstood, and Rudy not really going out and seeking his parents out or family out because he didn't have any connection with them. It's just, there's a lot the series does, and it does something very unique that most isekai or reincarnated stories just do not do. And it's such a shame that most people that, constantly talk, and the big discussion you see around MT is stuff like this, because obviously people want to throw mud at people, and it is definitely what causes a lot of attention, a lot of people to talk about. Hell, I'm even talking about it right now. So yeah, I mean, overall, I just think that people that constantly make posts like that, it's clear as day that they don't read the series. They don't. They legitimately don't. There's nothing wrong if you don't like the series. Like, if you don't like MT, that's fine. You don't like it. It's completely fine. But at the end of the day, it's fiction. It's not real life. It's not trying to glorify anything. In fact, Rudy constantly gets showcased that he's wrong for his actions throughout the story. It continuously does that, and he even gets hit and punched by Aris early on. So it's not something that glorifies these type of things. It just shows it in a very, I guess, different fashion than what you would see from normal isekai reincarnated stories. But I'll leave it at that. I wanted to talk about this. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this might not put the rest to the drama and controversy, but I guess I finally wanted to speak my thoughts on the matter. But be safe, stay healthy, everyone. I love you. Chibi out.